of importance for you. The first one is associated with your work that you are to do in the month of February, 1980. Billy says then it shall even be so, but in addition, still another question what we have discussed just now, may I announce this then, since it will, indeed, be in the contact reports. Semyaza says you may surely do that then, since you didn't mention more exact details. But now, I would like to tell you the other interests and still ask you whether you have also made calculations concerning the Olympic Games in the year 1980, part of which is to be held in Russia. Billy says no. Why should I have done that? Semyaza says no, it just would have been interesting for you, and moreover, I could have saved myself some explanations. Billy says no, I haven't dealt with that. I wouldn't have known why I should have done that. These games are, after all, not of so much importance that they could have a determining influence on the upcoming world situation, right? The Olympics are, after all, a non-political affair and were also brought into life in this form. To my knowledge, if I am not mistaken, the founder of the Olympic Games was named Pilipon, a distant descendant of a Minoan philosopher, who, in the year 468 BC, called these games into life, and he regulated the fact that games take place every 4 years in a sporting fashion with fist fights, horseback riding and horseback riding games, with long-distance running, armed sports fights, with speakers, poets, philosophers, and artists of all types. Even a sort of pentathlon was already brought into life by him. His condition at the founding of the Olympic Games was that at these competitions, members of all Hellenic tribes and Minoans should meet together uniformly and peacefully, as well as inhabitants of other lands, by what means a peaceful coexistence should be created and a true peace should be developed. Furthermore, his condition was that political disagreements or even acts of war between various states involved in these games and competitions should never be a reason for these states or their athletes, etc. not to participate in these peaceful competitions. His condition singly came from the fact that the Olympic Games may never be used as a means for political pressure or otherwise as some other peace-interfering means. Semyaza says your remarks regarding these matters are astonishingly exact. But in one respect, you are very mistaken. The Olympic Games have, unfortunately, already been caught in the wheels of the politics of the earthly governments for many decades, and this will be openly expressed to the world for the first time in the year 1980. Billy says that is just unreal. Is it because of the fact that the invasion of the Russian army will take place at the end of 1979? Semyaza says you are very clever and think very quickly. Sure, that will be the reason. Billy says then I can already imagine what will come. First, the Americans will cry out and will try to undermine or boycott the Olympic Games in Russia. Then soon, a wide variety of America-friendly countries will unanimously join in this wolf howling and will enforce a worldwide Olympic boycott, and with certainty, also approximately at least 50% of the Swiss population will be involved in this indelicate dance because most Swiss, in truth, never behave neutrally and pursue the dirtiest politics of which they don't have the slightest notion, however. But maybe it's good that this will happen because through this, then, the world public will one day understand and clearly learn whose brainchild a large mass of the Swiss people really is and, above all, where the much vaunted neutrality lies and how far this reaches. That really is a dirty swine business, I think, and to be sure, both this phony neutrality of many Swiss and, on the other hand, that such a dirty intrigue of an Olympic boycott can ever take place at all, that politics ever interfered in these competitive games at all. That contradicts, in every form, the original ideas, wishes, and conditions of the founder of the games as well as the old, traditional, sincere efforts of all those human beings who have participated in these games for nearly 3 millennia in a peaceful and condition-fulfilling form. That really is a rather damned and dirty mess, and those who cook up this mess are just as hopeless swines as those who support this. I would like to have said that with an absolutely neutral opinion and in regard of the fact that I regard the conditions, in terms of peace, peacemaking, and everything associated with it of the founder of the Olympic competitions as probably the most admirable accomplishment ever of an earth human being. But what's the use of this, if some swines, who still call themselves Earth-human beings, make this probably best idea and accomplishment of a far-thinking and peace-loving human being simply unscrupulous, just so that they can prove their power through this and likewise hide their dirty anxiety as well as their absolute inability to govern and to make the right decisions that would finally create a global peace. But these fellows neither have any idea of how to lead a humanity nor a clue about leading a single people, not to mention that they should feel bound to a promise that their original forefathers made and swore to create peace on the earth at last. Oh damn it, how damn dirty these swines must really be, oh damn it, damn. Semyaza says you are extremely excited. Billy says how should I not be? Damn it again. What do the Olympic Games have to do with all the shit politics? Nothing, nothing at all. Quite the contrary, they should be such a work, that through them peace becomes made and peace becomes maintained between the Earth-human beings, without even a single word of shit politics being dragged in at the same time. Semyaza says sure, your words correspond to the deepest truth, and also all your statements about all the concerns are no less laden with truth. But you shouldn't excite yourself because of that but rather act at the given point in time. Billy says I will, and I certainly won't let on about anything up to then. When should I go at it, then? Semyaza says in the first or second week of February, 1980. Billy says I will do that. Damn it again, I'm really neutral, but nevertheless, one truly has to intervene there. Semyaza says sure, and you have thereby saved me many words if I would have had to explain everything to you. But you will still continue to retain your neutrality, even when you will make these things clear at the given point in time. You represent, singly and alone, the facts of actuality, without actuating yourself politically. Thus, no reasonably thinking human being will be able to accuse you of a breach of neutrality. Only, when you do your work, you have to appeal, singly and alone, to the facts of actuality. Billy says I will certainly do that, and I won't interfere in political matters. That just isn't me. For me, Russia is Russia and America is America, or China is China and Switzerland is Switzerland. And every single human being in one of these or in any other country of the earth is just a human being to me. To me, no one is a Swiss, a Russian, an American, Chinese, German or anything else that could refer to a nationality, because to me, everyone is only a human being. Semyaza says sure, I know that very well, also that you actually think and act in such a way, and precisely this also gives us the certainty that you will do this difficult upcoming work in the right manner. Billy says while I am honored by your confidence, girl, nevertheless, I still find this earthly shit politics to be the most terrible earthly shit. Unfortunately, I cannot express that differently. Semyaza says sure, I understand you very well. I would be very happy and delighted about it if I, too, was able to express myself in such words and feelings, as you can do this. I actually envy you because of that. Billy says then just start cursing, damn it again. It really happens quite automatically when one has a large enough anger in his belly. Just try it once. Come on, just curse once, maybe then you will be better. Semyaza says does that correspond to your true opinion? Billy says but of course, my golden child. Just curse once strongly. Semyaza says should I really do that? Billy says yes, try it once. Semyaza says well, damn. Billy says you say that like a person dying of thirst who is totally apathetic. There is no feeling in it at all. Semyaza says I can't do it differently, however. Billy says maybe you'll still learn it someday. But let's leave that. If it is allowed, then I would like to address a somewhat sensitive question to you. Semyaza says sure. Billy says good, during the great journey, you talked with Patar once about the fact that the effective time of our mission would amount to approximately 100 years, before I would clamber around and continue to spread the mission again in this world as another personality. Our contacts have now been running since the month of January, 1975, so the running time, therefore, would have to go until the year 2074, or rather, rounded up, until the year 2075. Is that right? Semyaza says yes, that is the running time, calculated from the point in time, from which you resumed your mission. After a long interruption, you officially started with this again on the date of Tuesday, the 28th of January, 1975, at 1:00 p.m., when I called you. Billy says, how exactly you still know that? I could no longer remember it so very exactly. It just wasn't that important to me. By this, I mean the time and the day. Semyaza says, I understand. But now, what do you really want to know? Billy says, well, first of all, I would once again like to have detailed information about this effective time, and then, once again, more detailed information about my next incarnation and the further mission associated with it. Semyaza says, before the year 1980, however, you may not speak of it and also may not distribute the written information about it. Billy says, until what date? Semyaza says, until the 3rd month of the year. Billy says, the beginning, middle or end of it? Semyaza says, not before the 15th day. Billy says, so the middle of the month. Good, I will adhere to that. Semyaza says, sure, you will do that. So listen, then, with the beginning of your new mission on the 28th of January, 1975, that effective running time began, which was calculated at approximately 100 years. But this means that the work of your mission should last for about 800 years in its effect, before that point in time comes when your teaching can become fully effective. In other words, I want to declare with this that the effects of your mission work will last for 800 years and will be preparatory for the point in time in the year 2875, when you as another person should step once more from the otherworldly area into the light of this material world. Thus, after your leaving of this world, you should only remain in the otherworldly area for a few years, in order, then, to step into appearance again already in the year 2075, if all the things of the determinations fit themselves together in such a way that no shifts would come about. Billy says, so such a shift would be possible or is even already determined? Semyaza says, sure, that is, after all the previous failures, very well possible, but it is, even with certainty, no longer probable. You always have to consider, however, that only the form of the goals of life and, thus, also the goal of your mission become predetermined by you, but not an exact establishment of time. An exact determination of time only occurs in each case when a spiritual life form has separated from the material body and has gone into the otherworldly area, in order to work further there as a pure spiritual form and to evolve further. In your highly evolved case, however, the fact is already given that you, in your material life, can make a fairly accurate determination of the year of your next incarnation, but this can still vary a little, so by about 2 to 3 years. This self-determination possibility of the rebirth time of the spirit form still in the material, so in the physical life, can only take place, however, if a life form has already reached a certain spiritual evolution potential, as this is the case with you. However, since you are presently able, in your current physical state, to bring about such a predetermination that is accurate to within 2 to 3 years, then this can still change up to the end of your life in such a way, through your further evolution, that the data will be very accurate. Billy says that is known to me, but what exactly is the deal with the effective time of the work? Semyaza says, in connection with your former activities as other personalities over many thousands of years, you bore very old and earth-world renowned names. Your activities, however, were always informative and instructive for the whole earth world and its creatures and life forms. As a prophet, this was also your task, to which you have always voluntarily professed yourself. But as always, it was so that you have never been recognized or acknowledged at the right time in all of your former personalities as the truthful prophet, so not centuries ago, not millennia ago, and not at the present time. But so will it also be in the future. As it is now, so will it also be when you newly step into appearance in your next incarnation. At present, you have been working now in your mission as a prophet since the year 1975, from which effects will result, which will pave your next way for you as of your next incarnation. Thus, you are presently doing a preparatory work, which will bring about quite definite effects and which will spread out up to the year 2075 in such a way that quite definite routes for disseminating the teaching will be opened. Up to the year 2075, changes will have resulted from your present works and efforts, which will then help to facilitate your now newly begun mission. Your mission at later times, however, will always be the same as now, also without bell ringings and trombones. They could have a determining influence on the upcoming world situation, right? The Olympics are, after all, a non-political affair and were also brought into life in this form. To my knowledge, if I am not mistaken, the founder of the Olympic Games was named Pilipon, a distant descendant of a Minoan philosopher, who, in the year Piazza says you may surely do that then, since you didn't mention more exact details. But now, I would like to tell you the other interests and still ask you whether you have also made calculations concerning the Olympic Games in the year 1980, part of which is to be held in Russia. Billy says no. Why? Should I have 468 BC, called these games into life, and he regulated the fact that games take place every 4 years in a sporting fashion with fist fights, horseback riding and horseback riding games, with long-distance running, armed sports fights, with speakers, poets, philosophers, and artists of importance for you. The first one is associated with your work that you are to do in the month of February, 1980. Billy says then it shall even be so, but in addition, still another question what we have discussed just now, may I announce this then, since it will, indeed, be in the contact reports? Sem done that. Semyaza says no. It just would have been interesting for you, and moreover, I could have saved myself some explanations. Billy says no, I haven't dealt with that. I wouldn't have known why I should have done that. These games are, after all, not of so much importance that